Oh, that's it. It's time for me to die.
The Simpsons have been on TV for as long as we can remember. In fact, the show might even be older than you. With a show as old as time itself, there's bound to be some times where The Simpsons took things just a teensy bit too far. Well, now that we think about it, there are too many of these moments to count. But we rounded up the best of the best to share with you. So, let's get into it right now. Thinking of ending it. Some of us like to joke about wanting to end it all. But there are some people who do mean it when they say it, and that's not a joke. Occasionally, The Simpsons have dived into episodes that are much darker than their usual ones, and $1 Million Abe is one of them. The episode explores Grandpa Simpson dealing with suicidal thoughts. We're all for dark humor, don't get us wrong, but it was just a little too much. We saw Abe Simpson thinking of creating something known as the Die Pod to, well, help him with the whole dying thing. Yeah, a Die Pod. And we assure you that this one is not made by Apple. As you can tell, this episode was really weird. Like, sure, there's nothing wrong with not being scared of death, but actively seeking your own death out is a little different. We certainly had trouble getting behind this plot. Secondhand smoke. Now, we're going to be getting into an episode of The Simpsons that really pushed the envelope while trying to give the audience some kind of PSA. This episode was as risque gets. The whole plot of the episode, Smoke on the Daughter, centers around Lisa becoming better at ballet whenever she inhales secondhand cigarette smoke. Wait, no, that's not a PSA. Where's Captain America when you need him? Definitely do not inhale secondhand smoke. It doesn't make you a better dancer. In fact, if anything, it'll only lower your stamina along with a whole slew of other terrible side effects that we don't even have enough time to list. To be honest, we can't believe this has ever actually happened in an episode. In fact, we have no idea how the good folks behind The Simpsons decided to make a whole episode center around it. It's absolutely ridiculous stuff, and if we're being honest, it wasn't really that funny. We feel like when coming up with the idea for this episode, the writers just picked something from a hat. This one was beyond odd, and we'd like to remove it from our memory. The Bomber. Homer isn't the brightest bulb in the bunch. In fact, if he was a light bulb, he'd probably be so dim you don't even realize his light is on. If he was really smart, then it would pretty much just be an animated Frasier, which honestly is something that we could totally get behind. Anyway, there's often a method to Homer's madness, or in this case, stupidity. But the episode A Tale of Two Springfields really made Homer look like a doofus, a dingus, and everything in between. In the episode, we see Homer transition from a lovable goof into an absolute madman who gets really angry that the town's dialing code gets changed. What does he decide to do about it? Oh, what every sane person would do, of course. He decides to strap explosives to himself and tells the people of Springfield that he's going to blow up the city and everyone in it during a town meeting. Boy, that escalated quickly. This is one character arc that wasn't a very good one for Homer. Homer and a Panda. Everybody loves pandas, right? Those big old cuddly marsupials just love to sit down and eat bamboo all day long. They must be living the dream. Well, they might be living the dream, but their dream is Homer's nightmare. In the episode Homer vs. Dignity, there's a lot of craziness to unwrap. It focuses on Homer Simpson as usual, but not just Homer. Homer dressed up as a panda who was taken into a cave by a real panda, and well, we think you know where this one's gonna go. Let's just say the real panda thought Homer was also a real panda and was in the mood to have some fun. Yeah, you get it. We're sure Homer did not enjoy that nearly as much as the panda did. Sure, it happens off screen, but that doesn't change the fact that it happened. We really wish it didn't, though. And honestly, it perpetuates a whole institutional issue surrounding that kind of joke that requires a lot more than a 10-minute video to reasonably flesh out. Ugh. Futurama crossover. There's pretty much no conceivable plot that hasn't been covered in The Simpsons. That being said, we're surprised that Simpsorama, the Simpsons Futurama crossover episode, hasn't gotten as much negative attention as some of the other episodes. Now, it wasn't that bad of an episode since we got to see all of our favorite characters from both Matt Groening's shows interacting with each other, but it brought up a lot of questions, like how the heck do these shows take place in the same universe? These universes are just so different. So how did they end up together in the same episode? If you thought this was just a filler type of episode that isn't actually a part of the greater Simpsons storyline, you would be wrong. This is a canon episode. Everything that happened in this episode is something the Simpsons family actually experienced, not just some bad dream with robots and one-eyed mutants from the future. It just doesn't make any sense and is the ultimate example of taking things too far. The Jockeys. Do you think they're skilled people, or do you dislike the fact that they whip their horses to make them run faster? Whatever your opinion on jockeys might be, The Simpsons probably made you think of them differently. A lot of people agree that season 11 was when The Simpsons first visually began to run out of ideas. Their episodes started having some ridiculous plots that we couldn't help but laugh watching unfold, and the episode Saddle Sore Galactica was one of the weirdest of the bunch. A lot of Simpsons fans know this episode as the one that started the very slow decline of the show. In that episode, Homer adopts a racehorse that he names Furious D. You heard that right? He called the horse Furious D. Then he ticked off a whole bunch of jockeys who actually turn out to be elf-like creatures and threaten to eat Homer's brains if he continues to bother them. Yeah, it was really weird. Up until this episode, The Simpsons had stayed away from magical and fantastical plots, which is why this episode may have been the straw that broke the camel's back for some viewers. Maude Flanders. Sticking with season 11, let's talk about the death of Maude Flanders. To this day, we don't get why this had to happen. It was like The Simpsons were just being controversial for the sake of being controversial. We're all for pushing the boundaries, making a statement and trying to stand out among the crowd, but there needs to be a reason for it rather than to increase ratings. We were kind of annoyed when Maude Flanders passed away for this exact reason in the episode Alone Again, Natura Diddly. We all loved Ned Flanders, and we didn't think his wife needed to go. Even Mike Scully, who was the showrunner at the time, admitted that her death was mainly just done to increase ratings. When the guy behind the plot admits it was done solely for ratings, that's not a good look, and it was a sign that The Simpsons would start pushing the envelope more and more to stay relevant. Ned even began dating the very next episode. Come on, man. Tik-Tok. Remember when Kesha's Tik-Tok was the #1 song in America? Yeah, we do, and we wish we didn't. This intro was a bit odd. Sure, it was different, and we appreciate that, but for some reason, we just can't wrap our head around the fact that The Simpsons would be lip-syncing to a song by Kesha. The Kesha we have now is a much better artist than the Kesha we had then, so we're not saying anything bad about her. We remember all of our friends talking about this Simpsons intro and how they just didn't get it, but enjoyed it anyway. We feel the same, but the Simpsons intro is iconic, and having Kesha's Tik-Tok play over it might not have been a good look for some viewers. The episode also had nothing to do with the song, the artist, the music business, or anything of the sort. It was just completely random, leaving us more confused than anything else. Kill the Alligator and Run. Kill the Alligator and Run was one of the worst episodes of The Simpsons according to a whole lot of viewers. Now, we wouldn't go that far, but it certainly wasn't good by any stretch of the imagination. We'd like to call this type of episode mediocre. Of course, this plot involves alligators, and where are you most likely to find alligators? Florida, of course. It's also where all the crazy people are. And the Sunshine Law, which grants journalists a whole lot more access to police records than other states, which makes you wonder if they really are crazier, or they just seem that way because they legally can't hide it. Anyway, in the episode, the Simpsons go to Florida. They fight an alligator and they meet Kid Rock. 3 things nobody ever wants to do. If you had trouble keeping up with this episode, you weren't the only one. It made no sense like a lot of season 11 and had us laughing before we started crying. And this episode was so nuts, we didn't even know why we were crying. Skinner! Don't you just hate it when your identity gets stolen? It's terrible. You know what else is terrible? Learning that Principal Skinner isn't who we thought he was in the episode, the Principal and the Pauper. Overall, this was actually an awesome episode, but why did they have to mess with Principal Skinner? It turns out that he's not actually a man known as Seymour Skinner. His real name is Armin Tamzarian, who took on the persona of one of his former war buddies. While we appreciate the plot twist, it was completely pointless. Everybody loves Principal Skinner, but not this Armin Tamzarian guy. We don't know him at all. Messing around with the show's established canon is going to upset loads of fans, and it certainly did. And those are just some of the many times The Simpsons went too far. What do you think? Are there any moments that come to mind that weren't on this list? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more awesome videos. Thanks for watching.